What's going on, everybody? This is Ken Posick, and this is Orlando Real Live, where we talk about all things real estate, theme parks, and living in Orlando. We've got a lot of people that tune in, watching from all over the world to find out, is this a place that they want to live? Or once they find out, hey, this is where we want to live, they want to know what's cool about Orlando, what's something that we should know. And so if you're watching for the first time today, go to drop down below, or even if you are old-time Orlando Real, Ken Posick YouTube watcher, let us know down below. I'd love to find out where you guys are watching from. What's going on, Kim? Checking in from Connecticut. Always good to see you here. We got a lot of people that it's interesting right now. I think that it's like almost like pre-summer. We're getting a lot of people start taking long weekends to come look for houses or taking longer vacations and checking in with us over on Instagram, which is super fun. What's going on, Kelly from New Jersey? We got Pickles checking in from the hills of Minneola. We got Toluo checking in from Connecticut, another Connecticut. What's up, Nima, coming in from Virginia, always hanging out. I do appreciate it. What's up, Visual from NYC? Oh gosh, you guys just had like the best week. I feel like you're one of the people we were talking about, getting to hang out here a little bit, get to know Florida, get to get your run on and all that good stuff. What's going on from Napa, California? Good to see you. Got Stephanie from South Carolina, Kellen from Miami. What's up, Kellen? A lot of people from Miami moving up this way. It seems like more and more. We're getting people from outside of Orlando moving to Orlando from within the state. It's not even just people from other states that are fleeing taxes or whatever other reason, bad weather. It's just people from within Florida. It seems like quite a bit moving to Orlando, which is cool. What's up going on? Nivek from Massachusetts. We got somebody checking in from Seattle and Jeremy from Conway. Lots of people. Make sure you keep dropping down below. It does let me know and helps me curate our content a little bit better so that I know exactly who I'm talking to and what kind of creative we can make for you to make this channel a little bit better. And so the more locals we get, the more local content we've been putting out, and still trying to pair back and forth of like, do we want to do more content that's just for people moving here? Because we don't want you to unsubscribe. Like once you're subscribed, I don't want you to unsubscribe, if that makes sense. But we got a lot to talk about today. And the first story we're going to talk about is what's going on with Disney's affordable housing. And this is a big one they've been talking about for a while. And so they did a story this past week. They announced that they are going to put out something in 2026. And if you're not familiar with where this is going to be, this is actually in the Horizon West area over by the Flamingo Crossing section. And it was going to be 1,300 income capped apartments, but now it's going to be 1,400 income capped apartments. And so it'll be interesting to find out, are they only going to allow these to be cast members? And I think that that's probably the first people that they should help out is their own cast members. And if you know anything about the cast member housing that they have for interns, they've got like 2 to 4 people per unit, and they're paying like, I don't know, $500 or $600 a month to kind of be stacked up on top of each other. This is probably not going to be that. My guess is that they're going to be somewhat like micro apartments that they can keep the prices a little bit lower. And who knows what like affordable housing even means, because really, if you look at the cast member housing that they have for their interns, they're really nice. They're not what you normally think when you think low income housing or affordable housing. I think it's just, micro being a little bit smaller and offering more amenities is something that we're seeing through a lot of different people. There's one I wanted to share with you guys. Let's see. Over here, where did it go downtown? Let's see. There we go. Anyways, when you think about affordable housing, I think like there's going to be more and more common spaces for a lot of these people. And so there's a new place downtown Orlando called the Society. If you check it out here, I'm going to show you guys while those are watching live. Society, and we actually did a little video down there today. So even next week, we're going to talk about a little deeper dive into what the Society is. But if you look over here, it's gorgeous. Like it's really nice. And so for those of you listening to the podcast back, it's a 26-story apartment building with rooftop pool and crazy amenities. And there's like 484 different units in this building. And this is not just like, hey, maybe we're going to build it. This is actually opening up this fall. It already exists. They've already got the first 5 or 6 floors completed, and they're going to be pushing forward over the next 5 months to get this entire thing filled out. And the reason why I mentioned this, because it's obviously not, jumbo pool, there we go, jumbo pool and lawn, ground floor plaza, gaming and grilling and communal dining center, fitness center, right? But here's what they're doing to offer and offset some of the costs for people living there, is that they're actually setting aside 30% of the units that people can share with other people. You can actually rent out by the bedroom instead of having to rent the whole entire apartment out. Because something like this, downtown, great location, great amenities, would probably be $2,300 to $2,500 a month. And so if you're able to say, hey, I'm only going to pay $750 for one bedroom and then share the rest of the space, those are some of the things that a lot of the developers locally are trying to get a little bit smarter on. Because here's the deal, the cost to build these buildings is not going down. It's only going up. Almost everything that's on the market right now on a residential side and or a commercial side is typically, you can't replicate it for less than it's typically on the market for right now, which has not always been the case. And so a lot of these places are just trying to get a little bit more smart about how they do the growth, how they go in here and offer a little bit more affordable housing. And so it'll be interesting to see, going back over to Disney, is this something that they're able to do? And so it's 80 acres that Disney has basically said, here's what's going on. The development site, for those watching back, if you look up 429, which is the toll road, maybe just 10 minutes west of the Magic Kingdom and 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, 1 minute north of the Flamingo Crossing Center is where it's going to be. Now, one of the things many people have been asking in the comments of our videos, on our long form videos we put out every Tuesday, they're like, hey, what's going on with the schools and the infrastructure and all the other stuff going on here in Horizon West? Because they need more roads and we need more schools. And so I kind of dug into some of the permitting over the past week of what's exactly going on in our area. And I think it's interesting because Horizon West itself already has Panther Lake Elementary, Hamlin Middle that they just opened this year. You've got Water Springs Elementary and a lot of other ones. But there's this new one I just found today that's actually going to be a relief school to get ahead of all of this growth that's going on in the area. It's actually slated for opening of next fall of 2024. So it's going to be a quick one. We've got another relief school, a middle school that they're spending $50 million or $48,500,000. This is actually over in the Lake Nona area. This will be like a middle school feeder for that area. So there are a lot of new school projects. I know in Winter Park, I saw there's a $90 million new high school going in. So I do think that, old school Florida, people are always like, oh, there's not enough roads, there's not enough infrastructure, there's not enough all these other things. Well, listen, I think that whoever is getting ahead of this stuff sees the growth that we have and knows that we need it. Now, do they think that all of this stuff would be needed in the next year, in the next 2 years, or heck, immediately? Probably not. And so a lot of them are trying to get ahead of it. And the more I talk to people at City Hall and at the planning departments, they're hiring and just doing everything they can to keep up. But it's getting to be a backlog, which is why new construction's kind of a bit of a mess. So anyways, let me get over to some of your questions. What's up, Michelle, checking in from Celebration? I appreciate it. Shakur says, exciting that the Bright Line came to MCO today. I'm so excited. We were supposed to go to the opening. I was not able to make it this past today, but I am... I'm super excited just to see the station opening and seeing everything going on with Brightline. I think that that's going to hopefully make a bit of an impact here from like a transportation perspective. What's going on, Curtis from Windermere? What's up, Chris from Miami? I appreciate it. Diz Des said affordable and Disney don't go together. Yeah, I mean, well, again, I think it depends on who you are, what you do. Like, right, if you're a cast member intern and you're paying $700 a month for rent to live in this ridiculously nice apartment, yeah, you've got people that live with you, but it could be affordable, right? You never know. What's going on, Matthew? You said you're checking in. You're meeting with Emily tomorrow. That's amazing. You're considering relocating from Nashville. Nashville's awesome. Big fan of Nashville. Bigger fan of Orlando. That's why we live here. So, all right. So Shelly says while transitioning to Orlando area is expensive too. This sounds ideal for people waiting on builds too. Oh, that's a great part I never even thought of. There's not enough. When people come here and they're like, hey, we want to build a house and can we rent something for 3 or 4 months? Typically, the answer is no. What we always tell folks is that you could always rent a place. And then once you're under contract, you can kind of back into the ideal date with new construction. And if you have to, you could always break your lease. Almost every apartment building, every landlord locally will let you break your lease. Now, it will cost you like 2 months rent, but it does get you around the idea of having to sign like a year lease and not being able to break it. So something to consider. Hopefully some of these apartments will allow this. I know over in Lake Nona, they used to have a 3-month one that they've got rid of. And that would have been a really nice thing to have as well. Mr. Osa says, what do I think about Northlake at Ovation by Ashton Woods? I was actually just there shooting content yesterday, and I'm a big fan of Ashton Woods. Every neighborhood that they build is going to be a little different. Many different builders offer different products, in different areas of town based on the price point. I think that they're doing something really nice over at Northlake. I would live there in a minute. They have really great models, the Duval, which is the model that we live in. They have that there, but they're also offering some of the smaller units, which I'm actually more excited about than anything. I know many people watching, they're like, oh, you're, a real estate agent. You're always trying to just sell big houses. And that's just not the case. I want what's best for every one of our clients. And unfortunately, many of these builders got stuck in this rut of just building the biggest box they could for the cheapest amount of money. And so over at Northlake, they're starting to offer stuff that's a little bit smaller, which I think is great. They got single story, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, starting in the high 400s. And that's like, well, the one I did today was the Plant Street model. And it's just the Plant 2, I think is what it is. So I'm a big fan. I think that the location of it's great. I think the product's great. And the fact that they've got a abundance of different models is even better. So good question. Thanks for asking. I'm going to keep going back and diving down through some of these questions, but I want to get through some of these stories as well. Kind of keeping over on the Horizon West area. This is by the Growth Spotter, this article. Pulte buys in a Silverleaf community in red hot Horizon West. Now, I did a video. Sadly enough, I did a video this past week kind of going over Horizon West and kind of the options that were there. And I went through 6 different neighborhoods. And what's funny is that there's still some coming. And so funny enough, the moment I released the video, 2 more neighborhoods came out. And so it was like, all right, well, I'm going to have to do another video in 6 months, but it's totally fine. That's what we do. But anyhow, Silverleaf Silverleaf is going to be part of the community with Meritage, which is already in there, and Dreamfinders as well. But they took down, Pulte spent $20 million for 143 acres right off in this neighborhood. And this is something I was telling some of my team members this week was like, the Silverleaf area of Horizon West is going to be 2,200 houses. It's a huge area. If you're familiar with Summer Lake, off to kind of the east in Horizon West, this is about the same size. And so you're going to have a lot of different builders in there. Pulte, Meritage, and Dreamfinders are the first. I would have to believe there's going to be more coming, but they're probably going to be building out that neighborhood for the next 10 years. And so if you're nervous about getting into Horizon West, you probably have a little bit of time. You got about 8 or 9 different neighborhoods in that area. And then in the next 2 to 3 years, all of the connector roads are going to be running right through all this land. And it's going to be a really great kind of like connection to Lake County. So I'm excited about it. I think it just continues to get better. Devar says, what do I think about buying Ashton Woods Minneola versus Ashton Woods and Winter Garden Ovation? The difference in the same floor plan is about $200,000. Yeah, I mean, so Devar, the interesting thing about that is like, it's just location, right? I mean, they do have a slightly better product at Ovation than in Minneola, but not so much that you would notice in a really meaningful way. And so if I were you, if $200,000 and you're cool with the drive, I'm a big fan of Minneola. I did a whole video about it. And I think that area is kind of the next Claremont. And there's many people that maybe can't get into Claremont, so they're pushing to Minneola. And that's why it's getting so popular. And you've got a really great cachet of different builders that are building there now too. It's not just some of the value builders, which a lot of times lead the way in some of these areas. And so again, I think Ashton Wood's great. I think save $200,000 if you're cool with driving an extra 15 minutes from wherever you need to go, then that's what you do. Really great question. By the way, if you don't follow us already, The Orlando Reel and myself over on Instagram, at Ken Posick is mine on Instagram, and The Orlando Reel. And The Orlando Reel, people ask many times, like, what's the difference between what I do here on YouTube and what The Orlando Reel does? We have a whole staff of writers that we put out a newsletter twice a week, and we put out content every day over on Instagram and TikTok and all these different places. And my sole goal is to provide you value for years before you move here, and then years after you move here, so that you kind of think of my team and I when it comes time for anybody in your life to buy or sell a house, without being like the guy that's always, hey, do you know what interest rates are doing? Because eventually that kind of gets a little old. And so we're thinking like, how do we go deeper in our communities? How do we find out the cool taco places and the great new restaurants and support local and that kind of thing, which actually brings me up to our next story here. We've got Jeff's Bagel Run getting ready to open their third location over on Fox 35 Orlando. I'll drop all of these links after down below, by the way, in the description. But they're getting ready to open their third location. And the cool thing about Jeff and Danielle is, for one, they're incredible people. Their bagels are the best. Like I've been to New York. I've tried a ton of their bagels. I've tried every other bagel shop. And many people DM me and say, oh, did you try Stuff-A-Bagel? Did you try this one? Yeah, I've tried them all. And Jeff's are my favorite. And so the cool thing, if the guy that found You Break, I Fix, and this massive, massive company is from Orlando, grew it across the country. He's actually now invested in Jeff's company to now take the bagel shops, nationwide, at least statewide. So their third location is going to be over in O-Town West. And actually that area is exploding. Our video on O-Town West comes out on Tuesday because there's a lot there that I have been talking about, but I haven't been able to visually show people until now. And so it's a really cool location, O-Town West, and really cool story with Jeff and Danielle. So let's see. Harrison Schultz, what's up, my friend? New to the channel, it seems. What about Del Webb Sunbridge? Good location / investment. So I think the location's great because I think that it's definitely coming. It's definitely an up and coming area. You don't buy into Sunbridge for what it is today, although it is great. You buy for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years. And so if you're looking for a Del Webb product, which is by Pulte, and you like what they do, I mean, that's your number one spot over on that side of town. And so Sunbridge eventually is going to be really nice. It's 25,000 acres. It's giant. They're going to have their own marina and all this shopping and plenty of stuff to do with the homeowners association. But it's new. It's still like, you're buying into something for the future. So if you love the 55 and older product that Del Webb offers, then that's a great spot to go. Kellen, yeah, I actually probably should do a Sunbridge update. I did maybe like three months ago. We did a Sunbridge update, and this really wasn't a ton that had changed. So I wanted to give it like a year to kind of go through and maybe get a little bit more with the marina finally getting dug out and some of the other stuff to show off. So yeah, I'll definitely do that here shortly. Let's see. Vince says, my wife and I purchased a house in Palms of Serenoa soon after he talked about 55 and older community on your podcast. Thanks, Vince. Vince, that's in a great location, man. And especially talk about Sunbridge is over on the east side of town. Obviously Serenoa is on the Palms of Serenoa is on the west side over in Claremont. But man, once those connector roads go through, your life is going to get even better. But the other thing is, even if the connector roads didn't happen, like say they didn't happen, which there's 5 or 6 of them, they're all funded and they're definitely coming down the pipe. But Claremont itself up and down 27 is getting better and better. Every time I drive through there's more retail, more shops. 27 is already a massive, massive thoroughfare. So like you're not really waiting in traffic over there. So congratulations. I'm excited that you're able to buy that. That's very, very cool. Shakur asks, does Orlando have good tech and finance jobs? So it depends on what kind of tech and finance you're in. So you look at the people that are hiring right now, it's a lot of healthcare, mostly everything that is where it's healthcare, defense, aviation's really big. We've got a big semiconductor business here that they're really exploding on. You've got the whole like metaverse thing, which I was not a huge fan of before I understood it, but now that I do, we're not talking like NFTs for the metaverse. We're talking about like AR, VR, simulation kind of stuff. They've got a lot of jobs right now here locally that I think the average pay I figured out was like it's in the 6 figures, which is great for Orlando. And so, there's definitely that sort of thing if you're into it. I missed, let's see. Denise says, thank you for always providing us with the best info about Orlando area. Can't wait to get there in a couple of years. That's very kind of you. Thank you. You got a super chat there. I definitely appreciate that. It means a lot. Reedview says, can I please provide some info about rent prices in Orlando? Yeah, so Reedview, I'm actually doing a full deep dive study on this because the newest rent study that came out for Orlando was back in January, and there hasn't really been a really good one to come out recently. So I'm doing my own data research. But what I can tell you is like for our own rentals, for example, every time we have a renewal, I had a renewal over in Lake Nona, my townhouse, and we raised the rent $120 a month because statistically, and that's actually not even the high end, I could have raised it like $250 if I wanted to, based on what the comps were selling for over there. And I just didn't. I felt like I could save the guy from having to move out and me not move over. But when I'm looking in every one of my rental studies from our clients who call in to buy investments, Airbnbs are getting a little bit tougher to pencil, but long-term rentals are still doing really well. Even with the high interest rates, as long as you're putting a decent amount of money down, they're still penciling. And so, rents are still going up, much to many people's dismay, which is why some things like this on the Society in Orlando and the stuff that Disney's doing over in 2026, I think is needed. It's absolutely needed. More supply. And it's funny, there was a study from Bloomberg that actually came out today. There were 11 cities where rents have actually pulled back. In Austin, Texas, the average rents pulled back over 10% over the past year. And that's just because their demand has really slowed down. In Orlando, our demand is increasing, which is why our rents are increasing. So Q says, you hate me so much. Oh, I'm sorry, man. Did I miss you? Let's see. Oh, here we go. I got you, Q. I got you. Have I seen any of the West Side Boulevard developments? There's an entire new road for Champions Gate and Horizon to Avalon. Lots of neighborhoods down there, Ken. Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting because Avalon pulls right into West Side, and there's so many new neighborhoods over there, both on the short-term rental side and the resale kind of side. I think that's going to be great. Really, that whole 192 strip there, Q, if you look at where West Side is and 192, I believe the amount of investment there, I think there's like $1.8 billion in investment right in the 192 strip when you get from 429 up through 192 up to West Side. Just that little strip right there between the 3 or 4 huge developments for retail and hotel that are going there, as well as a lot of the stuff that's going on. So it's Kissimmee, which is fine. Kissimmee's amazing. It's huge, but that's just sometimes not as huge of a draw unless you're looking for a little bit more affordable. And so, yeah, maybe if Claremont's not for you, in the Lake County, you could look at Kissimmee in the Osceola County, right up and down West Side, which is where my man Q is mentioning. So I don't hate you, man. Sometimes there's a lot of questions coming through. It's kind of hard. Oh, man. So the Q also says the 192 Development Authority would be a dope video. All the 192 that will be developed. Redeveloped. I think you're right. That's probably a cool video, at least a reel over on Instagram for sure, because I do look at when I think of 192 when I first moved here, when we lived in Celebration, it was you left outside the door and you got hit with traffic on 192 and nobody really wanted to go up and down that area. You had all of the kind of tchotchke t-shirt shops and gift shops, which are, needed for people that are looking for affordable grab and go when you're in town, but it just wasn't an easy place to get up and down, And so I think part of it is not just redevelopment of that, but it's making the traffic flow a little bit easier, maybe adding a lane on each side. It's 100% needed. It's the only way that area is going to get the love that it deserves. But you look at Margaritaville, for example, is thriving on 192 and the Sunset Boulevard or the Sunset Strip right around it. All of the shops around that are doing extremely well. So that's cool. Hopefully it just continues to expand and they invest in some infrastructure up and down that way. Hey, so L. Robert says, can I give some indication of how long you think Toll Brothers Ovation will be around before selling out? So it appears to me, based on the sales staff that I've been talking to, is that they're going to start selling there again in June. And so if it goes in June, it's a really popular neighborhood. They have a big list of people. I don't want to speculate with certainty, but I would say that it's probably within a year it'll be sold out. Based on the amount of demand that I know my own team has and the demand that they've already had just from the past year of pent up demand from people not being able to move forward on their houses. So great question there. Yeah, so Spencer says, this is a good one, buddy. So is it possible to still find a move-in ready home in a decent neighborhood, 45 minutes or less to Disney World under $250,000? Man, it's getting really tough. 45 minutes is a tough one. I mean, we saw a lot in DeLand and Deltona and some of those, Haines City. Many of these places you used to be able to get stuff in the low 200s, and really even now those areas farther out are going to be in that low threes to start. And so there's going to be plenty of other ones that are have high HOAs where you can get something that's $200,000, but it's going to have a $400 a month HOA or $600 a month HOA, which just makes it cost prohibitive for a lot of people. Yeah, those are some different areas. Feel free to reach out and we can kind of run a search based on your criteria and find out what exactly is going to be best for you. So Capstone Communities eyes Champions Gate area for its next build to rent cottage community. If you're not familiar with what a build to rent community is, it's literally what it sounds, is that you get to move into a brand new community, single family residences and townhouses, but they're not going to be selling any of the houses in the neighborhood, which is kind of an interesting one, because it's like, if you're moving into an area, you kind of feel like you want somebody that's going to build up equity. You're going to have other homeowners that are also trying to build equity. But yeah, you've got Birmingham-based Capstone Communities is eyeing another property north of Champions Gate Resort. Again, this comes from the Growth Spotter, for its next cottage-style rental community, but the builder developer will have to overcome some environmental challenges. And so it's interesting. They're looking at doing, I think, kind of cute little houses here. I wish they were for sale, because these duplexes are just really stinking cute. But it has 43 cottages, and they have 43 cottage communities across 23 states. But they're looking to build a significant amount of homes in the Champions Gate area. And so there's 275 in the first phase, and then we'll kind of see where it goes from there. But it's interesting to see many of these kind of things start popping up more and more, where people know affordability is kind of like, hey, interest rates are what they are, and if they can't afford the down payment plus the higher interest rate, then build to rent might be it, instead of having to live in an apartment, especially if you got like a dog and a bunch of kids running around and you're trying to stuff them in a 2-bedroom apartment. This isn't New York. Like, we do have land here, and our yards are small, but at least we have them, and you want to be outside. And so this is interesting. And so let me know down in the comments below, would you do like a build to rent where like, hey, maybe you don't get to choose your floor plan and like pick all the finishes, but you said, hey, that within the next 90 days, your brand new place is going to be available for rent, and it will be yours, and they'll lock you into a long-term lease. Is that something that you would want to do, or would you rather just hold off and say, no, I'd rather maybe get something for myself to purchase? I'm kind of curious. Let me know what you think down below. All right, let's see what we got here. This was a funny one. So not funny at all for me anyways. So this morning at 4:45 a.m., the Florida emergency text line, the Florida's emergency alarm alert went off for every single Floridian who had their phone relatively near them. And so, I mean, it was like blaring. My house, we have like our kids' phones are outside of our bedroom in this like storage area they can plug it up, because we don't allow them to take their phones in their bedrooms. And so then we had our phones kind of over on the nightstands. And then we had my iWatch was plugged up on the wall, and all of them were going off blaring. They're like basically, it sounded like an Amber Alert, if you've ever heard that on your cell phone. And they went off at 4:45 in the morning. And so basically they said that, they came out very shortly afterwards and said, hey, we know a 4:45 wake up call isn't ideal. They want to apologize. And they're basically going to fire the people that were doing this. But they were basically just testing it. And it's supposed to be set up for like hurricanes or massive events, tornadoes, any kind of national or statewide emergency that they want to let people know about. This is their system. So instead of just the old school TV where you had it like blaring when you were a kid, or when I was a kid, now it's going to be on your cell phone. You can turn off the text alerts. Some people are like, oh, that's dangerous not to have the alert. But if it's something that annoys you, there's always that option to go over, which I think is kind of funny. There's another one here. I thought this was interesting. So I've been talking about this now for 2 years. And again, people, originally Disney said, hey, this isn't going to happen. And then now people are saying maybe it will. But this is today, 4/20. Happy 4/20, by the way. This is actually my wedding anniversary. That's why I'm excited about it. I don't know what you were thinking, but it's my anniversary today, 4/20. My wife is actually at an event with her sister. So I was like, hey, I'm still going to go live if that's okay. But we've got Epcot Future World Hotel, $50 to $70 million evaluation. And you can see this was back, first published date was 2018. And now they're basically saying they're updated it as of today. They're going to do site work underway, vertical construction possible in 30 days. And they're currently at design build phase. And so target date is May 1st. So this thing is coming up really, really quick. And it doesn't look like it's anything that we don't, it doesn't look like a normal hotel. It literally is named in their permitting Epcot Future World Hotel. And it's a swimming pool, miscellaneous recreational hotel motel project. And so we're going to see. I'm kind of like waiting for vindication and or somebody to say, oh, no, you're wrong. It says hotel, but this is what we really meant. But it's DVC. If it's something, I'm not really sure. For those of you who haven't heard today, actually, I'm excited. I have never been to Fort Wilderness over at Walt Disney World, but apparently they're getting rid of a lot of the cabins or all of them and streamlining the Disney Vacation Club over there. I think there's a couple, like 250 different cabins are getting ready to do it. And it's like glamping to the nth degree. And you guys keep talking over in the comments there. Let me find this over. like they're really, really nice. 350 new cabins. Here we go. This is from WDW News today. So breaking 350 new cabins coming to Fort Wilderness, breaking ground in 2024. And look at these things. For those of you watching back, they kind of look like almost like storage containers, like if you will, but way cooler. I don't know. They're I'm excited. I'm legitimately going to be doing some glamping. And so some of the concept art, we'll definitely drop this in the comments below if you guys want to take a look. But for those of you who don't know, like Fort Wilderness is 750 acres right inside Disney property. It's gorgeous. Like it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere. But to do this, I think is very cool to sort of revamp a lot of that stuff. Every time I'm driving up and down Vista Boulevard, there's always all these campers and people that just basically camp at Disney, which I think is very, very cool. Not for me, but it's definitely for some other people. Charles says, happy anniversary. So does Shelly, a bunch of other people checking in. Thank you very much. It's 16 years, which is crazy to me that I've been married for 16 years. My high school sweetheart. Pretty excited. Yeah, we're going to answer some more questions and then we're going to wrap up for today. So if you have any more, we got maybe 5 minutes for the show tonight. And then we're going to wrap up. Big Orange says, future resale in Del Webb Oasis versus K-Hov Four Seasons. Thoughts? I think that... I think Winter Garden's probably going to have, regardless of the product, I think Winter Garden's probably going to have a better resale value than Kissimmee will. And so, but you're also going to have a big price differential going in. I think at the end of the day, they're probably going to both appreciate similarly, but Del Webb will probably have a little bit of a cachet just based on the location. Nothing wrong with the Four Seasons. I think it's a great location. It's close to the parks. It's close to everything. But when you just look at a pure zip code price per square foot, Del Webb will probably win out there. Robert, what's up, my friend? I'm just saying that it went off today, the same day that annual passes went live. Just saying, are you saying, Robert, that Disney what did they do? They got in together with the state to wake people up at 4:45 a.m. so they would be ready for the 6 o'clock wake up call for annual passes. Are you saying that could be a thing? You could be right. You could actually be right, because I had a lot of friends tell me like, well, I'm up already, so I'm just going to wait. And if you didn't, by the way, there's a bunch of passes that have already been sold out. They're looking at, I think, ramping down the availability of that. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. We already had our passes set up, so I wasn't waking up at 6 o'clock for these, but I had a lot of people on my timeline today talking about that they got it and they waited for 4 or 5 or 6 hours in line, online, kept refreshing their page, and then finally got through to purchase it. So let me know, did you guys get a pass today, or did you miss out and you're gonna have to be waiting around? Well, I'm kind of curious how all this went down for some of you. Gosh, I missed a ton of questions and I sincerely apologize. I'm gonna go back through and try to hit as many as I can before we go, but I am thinking, let's see. Robert says, as a DVC member, he's super excited about Fort Wilderness. Should be a solid use of points. I agree. I totally agree. Here's a good question from Brooke. What's going on with the prison behind Disney? So for those of you that don't know, there's been, you have to know, if you're even interested in Orlando, or if you watch my channel at all, you know that there's been this massive feud between Disney and DeSantis. And so when you look at, he got up and said, hey, listen, we're reevaluating all of the things that we could possibly do with the land that Disney doesn't own with inside Reedy Creek. We could do a lot of things. We could do another amusement park. We could do part just like natural park conservation, or a prison, right? And he said it kind of like tongue in cheek. And it's been very disheartening, in my opinion, to see kind of like the governor and Disney going back and forth, tit for tat. I'm not picking a winner here either. I think we all lose in this. I think that businesses sit there and say, well, I'm not sure if I want to come to the state if that's how the governor is going to treat people. And people are like, well, if I'm not able to go to Disney and really enjoy everything without like the full Disney experience, which you're going to have the full Disney experience, but just from the optics perspective, it doesn't look great. And so, I don't think anybody wins in any of this. I feel like we've got two kind of like high school bullies going after each other. Maybe that's the wrong analogy, but that's kind of what it feels like to me. They still have, Frank says they still do have passes for sale. All of them, Frank? Are you sure? It's all of them. I am kind of curious to see what's going on. Diz says that she is really glad that she kept her OPs or her APs going through COVID 21 years and running. Diz, Deb, if you could let me know down below while I'm still chatting here, what would you remember what the first year, 21 years ago, what annual passes used to go for? Because that would be fascinating for sure. You guys are so Disney geeks, Reed View says. Yeah, I really am. Here's a good question from Young. What's my opinion of Maitland Maitland, which is in the Orlando area. I love some Maitland, and here's why. Maitland is it's fully built out. There's no new construction unless you find something that's been remodeled, tore down, you start over again, and that's really cool. It's also got a lot of like trees and it's got that old Florida vibe that so many people are after, and it's just north of Winter Park. So if you're not really being able to afford Winter Park, or you just don't want to afford Winter Park, you have basically the amenity of Winter Park right next door, but being able to live in Maitland. And I love that. And so some of our team members, Lindsay for one, lives up in Maitland. It's a great spot. And so I think that value for money, it's a good spot. And so I know Lindsay, by the way, she listed a house, got 11 offers on it, and all of them over asking. And we priced it right at market value. So for those people that are like, is the market crashing? What's going on? No, I think that if you price a property correctly, it's typically selling within a week or two still, which is so weird to say. Actually, and we're going to wrap up our show kind of talking about that. But yeah, it was very interesting to see this, almost $500,000 house with 11 offers, multiple cash offers, multiple people trying to move up into new price points and that sort of thing. So yeah, Maitland, I'm a fan. I think I could say that I'm a fan. Let's see. Yeah, Jeremy says exactly. It's a lose-lose with Disney and DeSantis. Crazy times. Here's a good, interesting question. Well, something different from my channel here. So we got somebody, Daniel says, I'm a real estate agent from Auckland, New Zealand. I found your video involvement with your real estate career. Would you say that it's worth going down that path or focusing on the meat and potatoes? I would say yes. And I think that if you are in real estate, you should be doing the meat and potatoes, taking care of people that already know you, doing the open houses, doing all the old school stuff that absolutely works, networking, just providing as much value for people as you can. But content marketing is where I found my passion, being able to tell the news in a way that makes sense as a local homeowner, essentially, and just giving as much value away completely for free, not asking anything in return, unless somebody potentially wants to work with us to buy or sell a house. That's kind of been our jam. So you have to do both because it does take quite some time. I've been doing this YouTube thing for like a long time. I put out like 550 videos already, and then hundreds and hundreds on all the other platforms. So yeah, it takes a lot of time to get a good solid kind of thing going, but I think it's worth it. All right, let's talk about the real estate market and what's going on. This is how we're going to wrap our show tonight. So you've got listings. So this is a market snapshot, by the way, over the past 7 days. You look at Orange County, Polk County, Osceola County, Seminole County, and Lake County, the five kind of that make up Central Florida. And so we have new listings over the past 7 days. This is all price points, 980 new listings. We have obviously some price increases, which mostly of the time that's builders that are increasing the homes that they have on the market. There are still some price decreases, which happens, but here's the ones that to me matter most, and that's sold. We had over 1,000 sell and almost 1,300 go pending. Now, my audience is very, very smart. So you know that if there's more houses going pending than going listing or getting listed, that means you're in a strong seller's market. This is just a very normal kind of thing, supply and demand. If there's more demand than there is supply, then prices will continue to go up, regardless of the interest rates. I think people, there was a CEO of one of the big real estate firms that came out on CNBC today, and he says, I think people are just kind of getting used to the high fives, mid sixes interest rates. This has just become our new reality. And so we had a definite slowdown in Q3 and Q4 of 2022. And then now this year has just been off to the races. And so at least in Orlando, we're continuing to see a very, very strong market. So anyways, you guys hung out with me on your Thursday night, and that means more to me than I could ever tell you. And so thank you so much for just taking some time learning about Orlando, learning about what's going on here, hearing some news stories. And if you're looking to buy or sell a house anytime in the next 10 years, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We love to just be your real estate resource of choice whenever the time comes. And I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing rest of the week. Be well.